You leave here, if you see a car in the parking lot and it has awareness on it, that's my license plate, that's my truck. And the reason I put that on there is because awareness is very, very important. You cannot, it's probably the most important concept thing you can actually take with you from the day, because if you aren't aware of who you are, if you aren't aware of what's going on inside of you, you cannot change it. It's only through being aware you can say, I want to start making changes. You've been conditioned pretty much to be who you are. We all have been. But right now, and coming here, makes you reconditioned. Everything you get exposed to conditions you. And so one of the conditions I want you to start being aware of is say, unless I can do something about this thing right now, let it go. Let it go. So often we just spend, as Elizabeth was saying, we spend so much time perseverating on ideas over and over and over again that we never let them go. And most of the time, I think if you really are aware, if you watch what's going on inside of here, you're going to find most of the time what goes on inside of your brain is pretty meaningless because you're not doing anything about it. Not that, I'm just going to give you some examples how you can be proactive, but when you can. Like right now, can you think about paying your mortgage? Probably not. I mean, can you pay your mortgage right now? No. Can you make more money right now? No. I mean, there are a lot of things right now that are going through your mind, even as we speak, that are superfluous, that actually cause you suffering. And so it's really, getting back into being here, being now, and being still, being present. And I love analogies. One of the analogies that I love is of the sky. You are the beautiful sky. It is endless. It is magnificent. But what comes by are clouds. Clouds are thoughts. Sometimes the thoughts are big and dark. But if you jump into those clouds, you think you are those clouds. And then your mind stays stuck there. And then you think you forget you're the sky. You forget you're the magnificent sky. So if you jump back into the sky, what will happen is the clouds will pass. Everything passes. Because that's the impermanent thing I talked about earlier. Everything's impermanent. Even the bad time you're going through right now, if you are. So that too will pass. And what will come back is the sky. And the sky is that quiet, peaceful state of mind. When your mind is still, peace arises. Thoughts and worries really get in the way of your just natural state of peace and happiness. So when do we get a break from that? We get it two ways. Most of us get it by one, when we sleep. And we all know what happens when we don't sleep. I mean, psychologists will tell you, you don't sleep for a while, you will literally go mad, and it will kill you. So we have to have that peace of mind. I mean, that quiet of mind, where the mind is quiet. But the other part that we're trying to teach about today is you can have that, of course, when you meditate. That's what meditation is all about, quieting the mind. But also throughout the day. You don't have to just limit it to meditation. You can have it throughout your day. I'm talking about a meditative life. I was on a talk show a couple of days ago, and that was the title of it, How to Live a Meditative Life. Because it's really about not just quieting your mind sometimes during the day, it's trying to have a quiet life throughout the day. So people ask me, well, when is it okay to think? When do I start thinking? And I call it the learning natural mind. And typically that involves learning something new. You're learning a language, or you're planning something, you're learning something new, and you do need to use your mind then. A lot of us, some professions require a lot of learning. But once you learn what you're learning, most of life is like a dance. It's good dancing. Good dancing, when you learn how to dance, you do have to learn the steps. And the steps you have to concentrate. But once you learn how to do the steps, a very excellent dancer will dance without thinking about what they're doing at all. They flow. And life is like that. You flow with life. You don't constantly think. It's losing that, what I call egoic commentary. You don't always have the ego saying, is this good? Am I dancing well now? Do they like the way I'm dancing? That's what goes through most of our heads all day long. Commentary, commentary, commentary. And that leads to suffering. You lose the commentary, and what naturally arises, what our argument is, what naturally arises is peace. And that's what she's talking about earlier, the chocolate. You can only know that by doing it. But any long-time meditators in here, as I have been for decades, you'll know that how incredibly peaceful meditation is when the mind is still. And you can have that even when you're not meditating. You can have that throughout the day. And I call that living in the zone. And living in the zone is where you're doing what needs to be done without constantly commenting on it. And you'll find it flows. It just flows. Whatever you are, if you're an accountant, if you drive a truck, if you work at a restaurant, if you're a teller, it doesn't matter. If you get in that place where you don't hear the commentary, you'll be amazed at how much things flow much more naturally and how well it goes. And I can support this by, we just had the Olympics. And I don't know if you know this, but the top psychologists that train Olympians, and we are very much higher now to train the Olympians and the top athletes. Do you know what we teach them? We teach them what's called in the zone sports. And what that entails is they quiet their mind. They obviously have spent 8 hours a day for years learning to do their sport. And when they get on that line to race, let's say they're a runner, they get on that line to run the race, we teach them to have nothing in mind but doing what they do and clear their mind completely. And we can actually put electrodes on their brain. We can't do it with runners, of course, but with like sharpshooters, you put electrodes on their brain, the top world-class sharpshooters, their minds get perfectly quiet when they pull the trigger. It's just homogeneous. And that's in the zone. And so that's what, if that's the top where people have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn this, it's the same thing that you can have in your life. And it can be washing the dishes. It can be mowing the lawn. There's so many things. Driving. I mean, all of us, I think, have the experience when we drive. You don't have to concentrate. Your mind can be very quiet. It's just being quiet and being present with what is. So I often describe life. Oh, but now this is the other thing. This is the anger work part. There are suffering. We do have bad things happen to us, of course. So we need to use our mind to learn. But sometimes we do need to heal. Emotions come up. We're going through a divorce. Our kid dies. We have something in our past we need to heal. That's where you need to heal that. Of course, you spend time healing that. And our anger work book's all about that. How do you heal? And you're either going to heal from either anger or sadness. Watch children. When they're upset, they get mad, they get angry. So that's what I try to teach people when we teach people when they come into therapy. So really, life can be broken down simply into 3 parts. You're learning, you're healing, mostly you're living.